All right, hey guys, just doing a couple of quick recordings back to back kind of thing. And today we're talking about Roy, a character who I think is probably going to be a little bit overshadowed by New Year's, but should definitely not be, as he is looking to be a great addition to the fire element. And more importantly, a fire mage, which we don't see too terribly many of. So let's take a look at that limit burst, which looks really cool. Fire elemental limited 3 move 1 jump 90 cost character with brand new job as his main one, as you would expect for a collaboration character, as well as black mage and devout. An interesting combination of mage, healing, support, and DPS options, which I think make for a pretty overall strong character. Now, as for what you'll also be getting from his Trust Mastery, grants the following effect upon hit for the character that casts this. 2 uses. You can see also, by the way, just the stats of this piece, very similar to Stern's piece of equipment, interestingly enough. New Stern, I should say. So decrease AP by 20 for 3 turns for self. Honestly, a pretty nice little TMR for a lot of units that have high AP costs, or just units in the future that we're going to want to lower AP. Also gets 2 uses, feels pretty good, and I'm pretty happy, and yeah, looks, just pretty good. It's pretty good. So let's queue up a friend unit thrown into a fire-based party. Now, of course, my fire vision card's not the best in the world, but hopefully you won't hold that against me. Now let's take a look with this combination of characters, what we're looking at in terms of stats. 6,000 HP, 1,686 magic, 13 defense, 5 spirit, 102 speed, 325 dexterity, and 316 luck. As for actual status resistance, you can kind of get an idea here with the equipment. As you can see, that's a little bit of modification towards his elemental resistance. 25, 39, 10, 5, and 0. And looking across the board here, 45% resistance and 5 resistance across the board, except for his weak one. Basically, kind of where I would expect him to be. Very, very powerful. Reminds me a lot, just initially looking at his stats and everything, like Garvel, which is curious because I'm curious about how well this character will find a spot. Garvel has kind of stood the test of time, which is an interesting compliment for what this character might be able to do. Just saying might because still new. Looking at his master ability, HP and fire attack for allies, increases own magic attack by 10 and reaction block rate by 20. Dream ability will give him an accuracy increase of 15 and AoE resistance of 10, as well as upgrading one of his abilities. Not bad at all. But you know what? Skills are important, so let's take a look at skills. Starting off with his support, you can see one of them does get upgraded into his EX. Agility plus 12%, spirit penetration by 40, AoE resistance of 15. Here, the Black Mage one has been increased, so it's not a terribly bad option just because it is more DPS. But maybe you will be interested in using this one as his other main job ability, which will give magic by 24%, as well as accuracy by 25. Decreasing a little bit of the DPS he can do for a little more accuracy makes for some good matchups against some evasion-based teams. So kind of interesting. Do you want more DPS? More of that? I don't know. Devout also makes him a little bit tankier, but I don't think that this character is ever going to be too terribly tanky. Now, looking at what we have the Devout skill, which increases HP. We have Black Mage, which counters all damage. And last but not least, we have his new one, Counter All Damage, with dealing damage back. And it's just a better Black Mage one, so just use that. Not too terribly much else to say. Looking at his Limit Burst, 200% mod, decrease healing power by 40. But the big thing here is it is a 4-hit ability. Great for chaining and potentially leading up to some high power fire damage turns. So kind of nice. Now, scrolling through his sub-jobs, we have Devout, which gives him the increased fire attack and boost fire attack units, so a little bit of support. Healing ability with increase of slash resistance, healing ability, AoE plus slash resistance. I was reading down across the line. Restore HP and increase agility, attack, and restore HP for an ally. So basically, Devout gives him some support as well as potentially some interesting power boost for fire. So not bad. Minwoo didn't take off, but maybe this character could be, especially in a more manual setting where you have more control over him. Since fire is really starting to pick up DPS, kind of an interesting combination. Now, as for Black Mage, hard to say what I think of Black Mage. You got Bio, got DPS, Absorb TP, which that's kind of important. Remember that one. Sleep, Absorbed HP, and the 220 Firaga, but he didn't get Flare, he didn't get Toad, he didn't get a lot of interesting status effects. So I don't know how I feel about this. Also, he doesn't really feel like he has a ton of great casting time options, so is kind of my feeling. Now, as for his main job, primary attack decreases spirit and deals a 121 mod. Not bad by any stretch of the imagination, just a good little base attack. Second one is a support that increases reaction block rate by 50. Again, him, just like the new Stern, quite capable of removing reactions off of opponents, which is pretty good. Also grants the following effect to ignore guts or immortal spirit off of attacks. Now, it's only for himself. It is not coded for allies according to the data on Wotv Calc. That's a little bit sad, but you know what? This guy is a really high-powered DPS, so if he can get rid of guts or immortal spirit, that's going to up his overall evaluation. Also can dispel on his next ability, protect and shell, which is great for dealing DPS, and a high mod for a single target hit, which could have the potential of killing. Reduces damage taken 3 times, so he does have an actual barrier. He increases damage done by using TP. Now, interestingly, 50%, but the TP cost will also be based on the AP cost. So the way this works is essentially like this. You get the cast this ability, you get the cost, or you get your barrier, and then any skills you use will essentially have a higher cost. They'll have an AP cost and a TP cost, but the DPS that you are getting out of it is 50% higher, which is really crazy. And I'm curious to test this out as soon as I get the chance. But, because, you know, it's been a busy day, been a busy trip kind of thing, right? But really, really interesting new ability. And I hope to see this more in the future on new characters as well, besides just Roy. Now, next ability does get upgraded, increasing magic attack resistance penetration by 40 for 3 turns on this AoE, dealing damage with an increased accuracy. And I'm really liking this more and more as sure hit reliability kind of is back and forth. So this is really, really good. And I hope I think this ability is just really, really nice for a DPS like this. As for his last ability, you can see a large line AoE does 200% mod. When the enemy is killed by this, automatically cast another skill, gaining CT back. So essentially it's a tempo ability. And killing this an enemy gets you 200 CT. So basically killing 2 can get you 400. It's a hell of a tempo move if the stars align. Now, is this going to be as good in manual? Probably not. In terms of auto and PvE, potentially, like really, really good. Just a high DPS ability, and that's essentially Roy's kit, and that's what he wants. Looking at the sub part of his job, interesting 2 abilities. One, fire decrease for resistance, which, you know, fire, it does have access to this already through other characters, but a newer character having this too is not something I'm going to say no to. As for his last one, nullify sleep, confusion, petrify, gradual petrify, and frostbite for allies. not terrible, but also not the most exciting combination. If it had been charm as well as some other things that are in different elements that are causing more problems for fire and other teams, like charm, for instance, and toad, I probably would rate this a little bit higher, but it's still pretty good to have more status protection. So here's the thing. Overall, I think Roy looks to be an incredible DPS. A little bit too glass cannony for me to be overly happy, but he is a 90 cost. He's not a 100 cost character. I think that his kit is, at least the main job, is really, really synergistic and really, really powerful. Just straight down exactly what you want a DPS to be doing, and he will be doing it very well for a long time to come. As for Black Mage, I just don't know if it's there and it's really a good fit. While absorbing TP is generally good, since this is a character that's actually going to be using his TP quite heavily, I don't think it's very accurate, and anything with casting time here just is not like synergistic here, as we have no way of reducing it incredibly well. As for Devout, kind of an interesting inclusion in his kit, actually. I think if his AI was prone to using support skills, this would be really, really nice to use. As it stands, I don't think that he will be too terribly reliable to do this, as his kit really paints him more as a DPS. But who knows, with the right AI manipulation, powering this kind of stuff up for someone like Setya, range character, really pummel allies, might just be good enough, because as soon as the enemy gets in close, Roy's going to switch gears and just start beating the living garbage out of opponents. So there is a lot interesting here, and I think overall, Roy is definitely an easy recommendation for any fire players, and a strong consideration for players who are on the fence about adding to their fire team or just two mages. I think he's just kind of a little bit of a newer energist. I'm a little worried about his overall durability, because it doesn't feel quite there, but he's got a lot of chaining attacks, which are always good, and a lot of high-powered magic attacks, greatly increasing his own endurance, short-term performance by just getting rid of some of the stuff that is super annoying out there, such as reactions, Immortal Spirit, increasing his own attack power through TP consumption, and also removing things such as Protect and Shell, which is really, really great. But yeah, if I'm going to say any kind of weakness here, I do feel durability, so be careful, put him with a tank, and you should be fine. Either way, I think he'll probably be a nightmare for ice and to deal with, kind of thing. Anyway, so that's my thoughts. I guess we should talk about one more thing before we go, which is some pieces of equipment. First off, his glove, which is a new piece of equipment, really only good for him, as like other units can equip it, but really the extra benefits are only for him. Reaction block increase of 30, magic attack resistance penetration of 20, and human killer on magic attacks by 10, which goes a long way to increasing how much DPS he can do. Also, you can see magic attack increased by 15, just synergistic to that idea of killing things. And last but not least, the new vision card, which is definitely an interesting one. For the units that can equip it, we're looking at swords. One particular group, we're looking at bows and arrows. And we are also looking at energist type jobs or glove-based jobs. So what are we looking at here? Well, we are looking at a party ability of increasing pierce resistance by a good percent, 24% overall, magic attack resistance penetration of 28, increasing the critical rate by 25, and for the unit that has this card equipped, we're also getting 20% magic as well as a critical rate increase of 8. Perfect card for Roy. Also great for people who really like energists such as Zoma, such as Garble, such as a certain swimsuit Helena. This vision card is perfect for all of that. I don't think that it is too terribly much interesting in any specific element. Fire is probably the best, but you know, Elena can also use this vision card quite effectively. So people who love Elena, this is a good card for you. And there are some other jobs out there that are more magical that can probably use this thing. But yeah, Roy is going to be only too happy with it. And as we continue into the future, I think more characters will also find it. Maybe one day we'll get a magic bow person in a UR high quality. It happen. Anyway, so that's all for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Take care and see you in the future for test runs. Sorry, just can't do it while I'm on vacation. It's really, really tricky right now. See ya.